We're going to get started with a few announcements before we get right into our meeting. So, welcome everyone. If you haven't been to one of our recent meetings, we've been using Slido, which is essentially a Q&A form that you can start asking questions on online. And if you'd like to have them answered at some point during the session, we'll have people in the back that can lead us down to that. So to use this, go to sli.do and use the room Paycom, and you'll be able to enter your questions in there. Member dues. Who has paid their member dues? Who's a member here? Yay, okay. And everybody that didn't raise your hand, there's two ways to pay your dues. So you can pay online at acm-utsa.org/join, or you can scan this QR code that's right there. And if you have cash and like to pay that way, you can reach out to Lauren Dill. She's in the back right there. She's waving. Slack, I think a lot of us are probably on Slack at this point, but if you're not, this is pretty much the workspace where we share all of our communications. So any of our announcements or any cool stuff that's going on, you're going to want to be a part of our Slack channel. So to be a part of our workspace, just pay your dues online, pay in cash, or ask an officer, and we can get you in. Speaking of Slack, we have a few channels that we want to bring your attention to. So if you're not already subscribed to these channels, I definitely recommend it. We have hackathons, careers, and opportunities, all pretty self-explanatory, but it's a great way for you to kind of like keep up to date with like specific things that we have going on. So if you're really into hackathons, you want to know when next one is, make sure you subscribe to that. Likewise for like opportunities, if there's any conferences or anything like that, join that channel. Social media, so we have our YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Make sure that you subscribe to these if you're not already. And our loyalty program. So just as a reminder, if you're attending meetings like this one, you'll get 1 point. If you go to larger meetings, like Rowdy Hacks, for example, that's going to be 2 points. Anytime that we announce it as a major event, that's what one of these 2-point ones is. And if you are returning next year or in the fall, you'll have your membership fees waived, and if you are a graduating senior, you'll get ACM installed. Shirts, we have shirts in the back. If you have t-shirts up already and you're a member, please let us know at the end of the meeting and we can hook you up. And some upcoming events. So tomorrow we have the NSA talking about Hydra. That's going to be at 5:30 p.m. and that's in the Mesquite room. So this is not our usual meeting time, but if that's something that you'd be able to make, please join us there. It's going to be really, really cool. Rowdy Creators is on Fridays at 10 a.m. It's in Hidalgo this week. Our Smash tournament, so this is really exciting. So we're having Smash tournament this Friday. That's at 4:30 p.m. We have the room until about 8:30, so it's going to go for a little while. But that's going to be in MPB 602. That's the big room in the MPB. And there's a $5 entry for prize track contestants, which means if you'd like to compete for a prize, it's $5 to enter into that category. If you'd still like to just show up and maybe play some Smash just for free or just hang out, you're still welcome to do that. However, we definitely want to draw your attention to this prize track. It's going to be pretty fun. First place will get a $60 Amazon gift card and a blue shell plush, which is pretty neat. And then second place will get a $25 Amazon gift card. ICBC is on Saturdays at 10 a.m., always in NPD 4.140. And next week in Rotama, we're finally back in Rotama next week. Spirit will be joining us, and yeah, you should definitely attend that. Also, ACMW is having their meeting next Thursday at 1 p.m. That's with Frost, and they're going to be talking about like UI UX stuff. So if you're interested in that, I would definitely recommend it. They'll be in Willow like their usual meeting places. And then following that, we also have Frost coming later in the day for API security. And so that's going to be next Thursday, 5:30 p.m., also in Mesquite room. Grace Hopper, who in here is already familiar with the Grace Hopper celebration? Cool. Okay. So Grace Hopper is an excellent opportunity, especially if you're a woman in tech. I would definitely recommend taking a look at the application to see what it's about. There's some scholarships that are available through the beginning of March, so make sure that you're checking this out. You can check out our opportunities channel for more information, or you can even scan this QR code right here. And Rowdy Hacks 2020, we're going to mention it at every meeting that we have. It's March 28th and 29th. It's here in the HEB Student Union. It's 100% free to attend. I'm kind of blanking on some of the details. Do you have to be like a certain skill level to be able to do this event?
No.
No, not at all.
Beginner friendly.
Yes, beginner friendly. We have a learner's track, so if you have like no coding experience or you're just kind of like getting there with like some of your classes, still register for this event. It's going to be really, really cool. Lots of food and snacks and prizes, and really, really fun. But yeah, the applications are now open on readyvax.io. Make sure that you are registering weekly and then following social media as well. All right, so that's all I have. So without further ado, we're going to bring up Paycom so they can talk about web application security. So let's give it up.
Awesome. Hey everyone, my name is Josh. I am one of the technical college recruiters at Paycom. I oversee recruitment at UTSA. Very happy to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces, so thanks for coming out. If I haven't met you, I'd love to chat with you a little bit more after the presentation. But just to give you a quick recap, if you're not familiar with who we are as a company, we're a software company. We specialize in HR software, HR technology. We're most known for our payroll product. But we have been recognized as one of the fastest growing companies in the nation, and we're growing very quickly, which is why we're looking to hire for our Dallas location. I don't want to go too much of your time because there's a lot of cool stuff that Nick is going to go through, and so I'm going to bring him up. But I do have these iPads I'm going to pass around. Sign into them. I have some pretty cool giveaway prizes to give away just randomly, and so be sure to put your name in there. And then also we have a little waiver to sign. I'll let Nick go into a little more detail about that. So Nick, come on up and we'll get started. Matt, just keep this works, right? Okay.
Hi, well, I'm Nick. I work with the application security teams at Paycom. Specifically, I'm an application security team lead. So today, like we just said, there is a waiver, and it's for a good reason. I'm about to show you some things that could be considered illegal depending on what you're doing with them and what permissions you have. For anyone that has a laptop, feel free to borrow a flash drive. It has a VM on it, which I will be using later. God forbid technology actually cooperates with me today. Best way to do it is copy to your C drive. Should just take a couple minutes at most. I think I've got 30 flash drives or something here, maybe. Tons of flash drives. I'll go ahead and kind of pass these boxes around the room. I do need the flash drives back at the end of the talk. So the VMs on these flash drives, though, they contain a couple of vulnerable web applications as well as a few useful tools. I'll get into those a little more later. But basically, it's a nice playground for if you're just getting into security, web application security specifically, and you want to just kind of see what's it like to try to attack an application. Obviously, these are going to be a little bit of like kind of a softball because they're meant to be vulnerable, and it's supposed to be a learning experience. You should be able to use them with any VirtualBox or VMware Player, something like that. You don't need like some kind of paid, like VMware Ultimate Osmo or something. Yeah. Anyways, without further ado, awesome. Things are working. What we're not. Where we go? Which one did you go for? Sorry. Wait a minute, it's not green. I don't know what to do. Your turn. Yes. Thank you for that. Cool, awesome. First, we'll take it back to the big green monster so y'all can run that in your eyes. Again, intro to pen testing. This is really kind of basic, so if you kind of been around for a while, you might know some of these concepts and some of the tools I mentioned. But for those of you guys that are new, maybe this is your first meeting, first intro to like anything pen testing security, it's good to go through some of these concepts. On to the warning. Pen testing a system that you do not own or have express written permission to test is a criminal act. That's kind of what I was getting at. That's what the waiver is for, saying, hey, you agree that this is only for educational purposes. Any of the tools and techniques that we're going to provide here are for entertainment value only. Do not go out and do stupid things. Paycom will not help you. Anyways, so acceptance of this work agreement is required. If you do not feel comfortable agreeing to this, I do ask that you go ahead and leave now. Awesome, cool, everybody blindly agrees. Who's heard of HTTP? Everybody? Awesome, cool, most people hopefully. If you've used the internet before, then yes, you probably have. Well, there's a lot of drama there. You might not know about it, but this is basically where all the attacks happen as far as application security is concerned. It's a very simple statement, I know, but that's the simple truth. We have requests, right? This is kind of, the idea of a GET request here. We say, hey, hackstore.com, give me your index page, and we get a response back, right? Response, hackstore.com says, okay, cool, yeah, I know what that is, here it is. Its content is woot with some heading and some HTML. Super awesome webpage, right? So, with that in mind, our attack points are basically URLs, header fields, cookies, URL query strings, and the HTTP post body. There are other systems, but those are the main ones. You can pretty much bank anytime that you feel that any of these input points, these attack points, are not being validated properly, you have yourself a guaranteed attack vector. So the moral of the story is, for those people that are going into the dev field as opposed to the security side, always input validate everything, even if it's not necessarily coming from a user. It could even be considered, from the database, it could still be considered unsafe. The best way to approach this would be to come up with this. Yes, good question.
Sorry to interrupt, but can I get the slides at the end?
I don't believe we distribute the slides. Anyways, so attack points allow for exploits and payloads, right? This is where all the fun part is. You might think, okay, well that's cool, how do I do that in a browser, right? But remember, a browser is just a mask. Underneath it is, hang on, there's one more thing, there's a mask. Underneath it's still just, request and response, right? We ask the server for something, it gives us something back. Our attack points allow us to say, cool, we're going to send you things that maybe you don't necessarily expect. So, with that in mind, right, we've got this idea of a browser, it sits there, it's cool, but it kind of dumps things down for us, right? It gives us buttons, it gives us fields, it gives us forms, what have you. This is where proxies enter. These are really awesome tools. Basically, they're a fancy HTTP request response handler. They strip the request and response down to kind of what you saw earlier, where it's just the raw data that's being sent. It sits between the browser and the server, and it is basically your self monkey in the middle. I apologize for the monkey thing. This is the theme with Paycom, but you'll learn to love it, or not. I don't know. Some of the best known ones are Zap, you got your fun lightning little guy, and also Burp Suite. Zap is free. Burp is generally a commercial product, but they do have a free version. There's some rate limiting and a few things that you can't quite do as easily. But it is a good product even if you use the free version. So in these applications, there are numerous tools, not just like, oh cool, I can send a response, or send a request, get a response back, but there's a lot of automation. There's a lot of documentation that can happen in these tools that happen just automatically for you. Which, again, if technology cooperates, hopefully you'll get to see some of the magic later where it just shows, hey, look at all the cool things I found without you doing anything. So cool, now that we've got a basic understanding, hey, where do I actually do application security? How do I send attacks to a web server? How do we organize all of this, right? Because otherwise you're just gonna maybe peruse through Facebook and see what happens and end up just posting a bunch of weird comments. Sorry, I don't use Facebook, I don't do social media, so total ignorance there too. That's where pen testing methodologies enter. There are numerous methodologies out there. Some of the better known ones are, getting there. We've got the OWASP testing guide, the PCI penetration testing guidance, the OSSTMM, I'm not going to say all that. I obviously don't use that one. Free is obviously the best one because that's the picture we took. Sorry. again, I'm also trying to get through this because we're on a little bit of a short time, but they all provide a basic methodology. They can be broken down into basically 4 different steps. Cool, am I still showing things? Because the one with the slides on it is actually freaking out right now. Cool, fun. Anyways, you start with the reconnaissance. Spoiler alert, it was already discovery, if you didn't see. Go into exploitation, and then we go into the analysis and reporting section. This is all just a huge cycle of abuse that we continue to do to web applications. It's not pretty, but that's basically what we do. Proxy tools help automate many of these tasks. They also, again, help with some of the documentation. And obviously take notes because, the proxy tool, while it gathers information, it won't give you necessarily the context. So it's always good to also keep notes separate from the proxy tools. So more specifically into reconnaissance, this is basically getting to know what it is you're actually targeting. Spidering, mapping, profiling, things like that. You might come up with a nifty diagram kind of like this that breaks down the website from all these different sections and different little bits on it. You might also stack the developers put this on. In this case, we're pretending it's a lamp stack. Once you move into discovery, that's where you're actually looking for potential vulnerabilities. What you learned in the previous step, what tech is in use, excuse me, what pages have potential to be attacked. Obviously, the easy ones tend to be, that is on the next page, sorry. But basically, you're just going to go through everything that you found in the first step, try to figure out, hey, these are kind of my prime suspects of where I want to go next. Then we move into the fun part, right? The exploitation. This is where we actually break things. This is what we all live and die for, right? No? Nobody? Okay. All right, you guys are all the documentation at the time. You're waiting for the report at the end then, right? I haven't heard much enthusiasm. We're in step 3. Anyways, this is where you break stuff. This is my favorite part. Because then I get to show devs that they did something bad, and they should feel bad about it. So you follow what you discovered. Maybe you go check out some CVEs, see if any of those apply to some of the technologies that you've discovered in the previous steps. And you actually try to do things. Like, for example, maybe you go to the login screen, or you go, hey, can I just go to an admin page? You'd be surprised. I mean, it's a little less common nowadays, but you used to just be able to throw on a /admin on the end of a URL, and all of a sudden you'd be in the magical admin dashboard. It's terrible, but true. Anyways, so then, again, like I said, obviously this is everyone's favorite part because no one has shouted out and believed until now. Still not yet? Maybe I'll shout this, okay. It was the exploitation part? Okay, well, why didn't you shout?
I did, I was laughing.
Oh, okay, alright, I'm sorry. That's on me then, my bad. Anyways, this feeds back into the cycle again. This is where we take all of our findings, we try to put them into some sort of, logical, coherent form that we can give to dev, maybe management, depending on, what your engagement looks like. We take all the findings, take all the previous findings, say, hey, did new things happen? Like, is there a trend? What can we do better going forward? It's meant to be a learning thing. It's meant to be a good resource for the company. There's obviously lots of paperwork. You'll get things like the executive summary, what you found, recommendations on how to fix it. Hopefully they actually follow these things. I would say in the small chance that developers actually listen to what you say, be explicit on what is wrong. If you're vague in your recommendations, often that's misinterpreted. This is kind of like life lessons, I guess, right? Always be very, very consistent and very precise with your communication. You don't want any kind of ambiguity. So anyways, with that, any questions, suggestions? Don't talk so fast. Maybe, I know I get that one a lot. No? Everything's awesome? You guys are just waiting for the pizza?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question in the back.
Can you all hear me? Okay. We have a question from the Slido. What's your opinion on the open source bug bounty programs, as in companies paying non-employees for finding bugs?
It's an interesting idea. So Paycom specifically, we employ a small herd of testers to do this internally. For other companies, it makes more sense financially, obviously, to outsource this, right? I think it's really interesting because you get a big mix of experience levels and technical skills. But I also feel like it also kind of exposes the company to a certain extent. So, does that kind of hopefully answers the question? I don't know if you get kind of some feedback on this.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Cool, all right, without further ado, we will get into the fun part that hopefully works. This mouse is not doing what I think it does, cool. Let's see. So, if you've had a chance to copy over the files off that flash drive and potentially install VMware Player or some other virtual machine technology here, then you can follow along if you want. I don't want to spend too much time troubleshooting, unfortunately. I might spend a little time after this if time permits, but previous experience says if you troubleshoot, everyone gets bored and they just kind of blank out. Anyways, we're starting. There are a couple nice to have things to set up here, so I'm going to pull up my cheat sheet. I would suggest having a cheat sheet if you're going to use this to learn. It's really not helpful. Actually, we can do this maybe. Might make it better so you guys don't have to split the screen. I swear, today's been fun. Cool, you guys get to just deal with me, I guess. Oh my goodness. Anyways, this gives you more time to get your stuff set up, maybe. Any other questions while we're waiting for technology to progress? Sure, I got front row.
How to get into security related?
How? Well, I went to school and I'm super excited about security. I did an information assurance option for my major. That's kind of all I had back then. It was an MIS major for my bachelor's degree. When I graduated, another public service announcement, please do your career planning and future planning before the semester you graduate. Otherwise, you're going to feel really bad when you graduate without a job. Anyways, with all that, I landed in a dev position because I just happened to be good at it. Luckily for me, that paid off and has, it did quite well for me for a while. Eventually, I got an opportunity at Paycom. A friend gave me a shout out to a recruiter and said, hey, this guy's interested in security. He's an awesome dev and he happens to know a few security things that he's looked at on the side. Also, another public service announcement, do not use user as your password, which is password for the VM. You guys are just getting all kinds of fun nuggets today. Yeah, so honestly, I started from a dev background and then moved into security, even though I kind of already had that passion before I got into it. I had a question for the room.
Yes, I wanted to ask your perspective on external threat vectors, right? So something like the recent DigiNotar, that sort of thing. Do you guys deal with any of that, or is it all internal sort of threat vectors?
So our primary focus as far as testing is the externally facing Paycom applications. So while my team specifically focuses on web applications, we do have a few other groups within security at Paycom. We have the network security. They're more involved with firewall and ensuring that general threat signatures are inhibited from actually making it to the application. We have our incident response guys. They are more of like, hey, we are seeing bad things in the logs. What do we do? Who do we call? And how do we make sure it never happens again? Then lastly, we have our governance and compliance, or risk and compliance. They've changed their name recently. I forget which one it is. They are involved with making sure we are compliant with, for example, PCI standards. We've started working with certain federal standards that we have to be compliant with, as well as our ISO certifications, things like that. That kind of fits it. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So good things are happening. We see the background we all know and love, which is good too. We'll try extending the screen one more time. Maybe we'll get out the VM and try it. Oh, I know the problem. Because we are trying to extend my laptop because of the janky technology we're using. Cool, that's the one we want. Anyone remember the movie Inception?
Yes.
Kind of how I feel right now. A window and a window and a window, and everything feels bad about it. I don't know if this actually helps. Anyway. Because I didn't send you that or anything. Cool, this does not help in any way. Awesome. Now I've broken everything. Alright, cool. Alright, so once you get into the VM, you'll notice there's a little shell script up here. Fortunately, I don't believe you can double click on it and have magic happen like in Windows, so we actually need a terminal. Let's see. If we force them to tap things twice. Cool. So if you run that script from the terminal, really? No. Try that one. Dash space zap.sh. It will start doing things magically in the background. Give it a minute. Sorry, checking the cheat sheet one more time here. If only college was this easy, right? So it's once it loads up, there's this thing called the Zap Hub, which is super awesome. You may not necessarily need to disable it if this were installed directly on your machine, but I've been told it is just like the most terribleness you could imagine on a small VM within a window, and it just clutters everything. So, any other questions before I start playing cat videos? No? Okay. Cat videos it is. Don't worry about that. So you can just hit start and pop-up that shows up. That dialog basically asks, hey, do you want us to save the session you're about to do? Would be useful if you actually care, but since we're just playing around, we don't care about saving things. So tiny. I don't know what this is. I believe it's tools, options. Looking for. Oh, there it is, HUD. Go down a little ways to the H's, find the HUD. It'll be the first checkbox, uncheck it. Which usually happens when you click on it. Hit OK. More magic happens in the background slowly. And basically what that, like, it does like a bunch of like an overlay kind of thing. Again, it can be super useful if you're on a full-size screen, but not the case in VM. So, you'll see over here, right, we have like nothing insights, right? Like, hey, cool, we got this application up. Where's that magic we talked about earlier? So let's open up Firefox. And I believe it is saved as a favorite, Mutillidae and JuiceShop. I've had issues with Mutillidae working sometimes. Usually if you like come back later, it magically works. So we're gonna go with JuiceShop, which again, I'm less familiar with. So we click on that, it is thinking about going to JuiceShop. Eventually we'll get to the super awesome website that will sell us all kinds of juices. Yeah, so when you go home and tell your friends and family what you did today, it's like, well, a guy showed us how to find juices on the internet. It was weird. Cool, so here we are, we've loaded in. If we go back to Zap, let's see what happened. You'll notice we've got all kinds of crazy stuff happening over here, right? None of these sites were here before. Some of them may have names that look familiar, like Cloudflare, we've heard of that, Google, something or other. The one we are worried about is this local address. This HTTP 127.0.0.1. It is the one we are primarily concerned with. If we right click and I cannot see this. Include in context. We'll just say default context. So get one of those. Say yeah, sure, sounds good. And then we find this little button up here that says only URLs in scope. Click on that, and that gets rid of all that other crap. So now we're like just worried about this 127.0.0.1. This goes back to kind of the warning at the beginning of the slide. It's like, hey, make sure you're staying within scope. You're only touching things you're supposed to touch. In this case, we only want to deal with our own machine. We don't want to accidentally go test Google or something. Good luck with that, but just in case you're up for a challenge, maybe. Another thing, if you come down here and find that similar around, it's kind of like a target button, I guess. Click on that one, and it'll kind of filter out all of the actual requests that are coming back and forth. So we won't see all the numerous update requests from the VM as well as the browser itself. Anyways, back up to our site, right? So we got this 127.0.0.1. We know that's our website, but we've only ever gone to the home page. Where's all this other stuff coming from, right? So that's kind of the cool things about these proxies, these tools. They have the ability to go out and say, hey, what else can I just see based off of links within the page that we've been to? So not only does it record what you do, but it also says, hey, here's some things that maybe you haven't necessarily seen. Often, like just kind of like at a very rudimentary level, like I said, it will go through and just find all the links and say, hey, I found there's like a login, there's, okay, we'll close that. There's a search, there's about us, there's, change your link, there's all these other things, right? So let's try, what did we say earlier? We said, hey, what happens if we just go to like that /admin? We'll see what happens there, right? I wonder if we get anywhere. Thinking about it. It is not loading, it's not doing anything. Cool. So it looks like they don't have an admin site apparently. Looks like they've got a login, right? We can do stuff there. They've got a contact us page, which gives us a drop down for some reason. This sucks. 5 stars. And they want some math. Is it 12? I can't read it. I need to get my prescription checked, I think. It's wrong, it's on you, I'm just cool, alright, thank you for your feedback with a 5-star rating saying that this sucks. I imagine we can go look at that somewhere, but I don't know. And there's like no way back to the homepage, maybe there is. There it is, alright, cool. So that's kind of like the idea of the reconnaissance thing, right? We're just kind of like clicking around, seeing what's available, seeing what we can get to. We tried that, admin link. We tried, going to the login page, seeing what that looks like. Oh, here's an about us. This looks kind of neat. They've got a lot of useless text, and here's some lame, like legal stuff or something apparently. Ooh, I wonder if this is where my review shows up. It is not. Oh, I remember this now. That's why. Cancel. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So slow. All right. Cool. Backends app. Alright, cool. It's built out more stuff. We can expand the API, see what all they got going on there. Oh, look, there's my feedback where I get stuff. That's kind of neat. Looks like they're doing so. You'll see, like, right, we've got posts, we've got GET requests. If we go over here, should be able to say request. And so, hey, right, see, there's our request to. Apparently, we went to some kind of challenges, name equals scoreboard. I don't remember going there, but it found it. And we did get a response from this saying, yeah, you've been to the challenge scoreboard maybe? I don't know, we'll see. I don't think we have yet, but apparently there's a scoreboard. Does anybody remember a link for the scoreboard? These like weird pictures are freaking me out. Okay, well, I don't remember there being a link. Let's just try going to scoreboard. If not scoreboard, I don't know what that is. I don't want to know. Alright, so try going to scoreboard. Let's see. That looks like the home page. Let's see, there should be. They have a dash in it, maybe. There's a space. Alright, sometimes, cool. Sometimes developers like to be cool and they like to put dashes instead of spaces for URLs. Let's try that. Oh boy, look there, we found a hidden page. Aren't we awesome? If you wait 5 minutes, it'll tell us we're awesome. This little... Oh boy, here we go. Yeah, we're awesome, check it out. We copied this to a clipboard for some reason. I will say, like, for our onboarding process, we do kind of make you go through this whole process with similar sites. And when you find these keys, basically just, hashes, we ask that you write them down, tell us about them, where you found them, how you found them, and just kind of to get your idea. So it does serve a purpose, not for just playing around, but it is kind of neat. But now we're aware of like, oh man, there's like all kinds of like crazy stuff going on here, right? Looks like we did solve the scoreboard. We found the hidden scoreboard page. That was magic. You guys will remember this forever, right? The moment we found the scoreboard. This guy will. Yeah.
We made it.
Cool. All right. So they got it broken down into different levels, all kinds of stuff here. someone give me their favorite vulnerability, please be an easy one, not something weird, I'm sure. Cool.
Cross-site scripting.
Cross-site scripting, awesome, I love you, you're my favorite participant. Oh man, I think that one actually doesn't work on the VM, we're gonna find out. Well, cool, so this is supposed to be like this awesome responsive, text prediction search that says, oh, I bet you're looking for apple juice. It is not doing that for me right now. Anyone tell me the two main types of XSS? Yeah.
Persistent and non-persistent.
Okay. What is something else that you could call non-persistent?
Targeted.
Looking for reflected.
Okay.
Yeah. So reflected would be, hey, I'm going to type something in here, for example, in this awesome predictive text box. And as I start typing a payload, eventually it's going to realize it's a payload. The browser is going to try to interpret it as JavaScript, and then I'm going to get an awesome little pop-up or something, whatever I do myself. Those are kind of neat. They're not as awesome as persistent because, with the persistent ones, you actually store it on the server and it's retrieved and sent to numerous users, whoever goes to the page. Let's try for a persistent one since the search box is not being cool for us right now. So, I'll even try to do this without the cheat sheet, I promise. Well, there's my apple juice I wanted to see about. Let's go check that out. Okay, well I can send some comments here. So XSS, right? That's basically trying to attack the end user through making them think they are using the site normally, but maybe you're getting them to do something else, right? So for example, maybe I want to get them a pop-up to log in. I'm not going to do that in this demonstration because that requires a lot more work. But fun little nifty payload just to see, hey, is it possible to get XSS? We can just say, hey, what happens if I want to include an image in my review? I don't know what it is, so we're going to tell the browser they can find it at 1, wherever that is. And if for some reason you can't find that location, we're just going to have you tell me 0 for some reason. Make sure I don't have any glaring syntax errors and embarrassing myself, and we might be alright. Cool, that didn't seem to work. Okay. Anyone think why that didn't work?
I guess it's just not that.
It's not vulnerable. You giving up easily? Well, I guess we're done, so we'll go home. Alright, well, let's go back here and let's see. Maybe Zach can tell us something. Let's see. I believe this is under rest. Products. Product 1. Alright, cool. Looks like I tried to put a review here. It doesn't seem to be liking that one. Let's try maybe a different payload then. So let's just try to see, because I was thinking this one's being kind of weird for me at one point. No, okay. I'm trying to think of something else.
You try to have SQL injection.
Want to try SQL injection on here? We can. Alright, how do I do that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember, okay. Alright, well, fun one that, it's kind of dumb. Let's just give it a single tick and a space.
You could find it probably, is there products on the page?
What do you mean?
Or just something just to change the, well, I know the website said, local host, but I'm trying to get something like the actual parameter, like like ID or a product, or maybe you could try to access through the search bar.
Well, it's totally possible, right? So we actually
I don't know
had,
if a lot of times,
we had a request back here for, get some reviews for product 1. Come on, get it. There you go. So what happens if we, bear with me again, like I'm feeling like an old man here and I can't see anything. I want to restart my device. Let's try sending a new request. Cool. So if we try going back to the reviews for that one, see what happens. Alright, so I clicked on it. What I did there, like fiddling with this little button up here, that's going to grab any request that comes in and try to hang on to it. It does not appear to be hanging on to requests.
Are you gonna try and modify the packet, or what are you gonna try?
Yeah, so the idea, right, would be when I make this request to, like, this is like Terry for everybody to see. When I make this request to products/1/reviews, right, like, the application doesn't actually expect us to change this request. But what happens if we change that one, which I can actually let me modify, but we change that one to a payload, right? That could be, XSS, it could be SQL injection, it could be whatever you want, right? But if we change that, how does the web application interpret the request? That's kind of like the main thing here. Let's try it this way. I don't know why it's not hanging on to my request for me. Alright, take 2. Yeah, why aren't we breaking now? That's the question. You gotta love live demos, right? Alright, 3rd time's a charm, right? That obviously, broke on the request.
Can't you just try manually instead of using OAuth?
What's that, sorry?
I said, can't you try manually instead of trying to do it, by packet or just
Yeah.
by automated scan? It would take a lot. Do it that way.
Unfortunately, I do not use Zap enough to be comfortable with that, but. I'm not sure why it's not being pulled here. Go product page. Alright. Unfortunately, it's not cooperating with me. Do you know how to, in Zap, how to send a request manually?
I don't use that at all.
You know, okay. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I use Burp at work, so they give Zap on this.
I just do it from like the actual website.
Yeah, we can try. So you're saying just like go through the browser, right?
So I guess go to the product page, or well, are you trying for cross-site, or are you trying to do SQL or L5, or what are you gonna try and do?
Well, let's try for the cross-site scripting if we can.
Yeah, for that you might need like a program for cross-site.
Yeah. I want to try to upload. So let's give it a shot. Alright, so let's try just going to products 1 and see where that gets us.
If you gotta go to class or anything like that, you know, to come around and pick up your desk keys.
Alright, let's try something a little simpler on the XSS then, instead of trying to going for the kind of pop-up thing. So go back to the reviews. Let's try just getting like simple like H1 here, right? Well, again, I apologize. Kind of the rule of live demos. Things do not always go as planned. I've been told that I'm running out of time, though I don't want to hold you guys back from the classes. Do you guys have any questions before I start shutting things down now? I know we didn't get into much here on the live game part.
Which software did you say you use?
Sorry?
Which software did you say you use? With your
Burp Suite.
Burp Suite.
That's what we use at Paycom. Again, Zap works well for a free version. Burp also has a free version. It is not as good on the free scale as Zap is. If you are willing to fork out a little money for Burp Suite Professional, it's totally worth it. You get a lot of awesome tools, a lot of automation tools. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about for?
Yeah, sure. So pizza's on the way. So if you want to stick around, it'll be nice and hot. Pizza Hut, they had an issue with. It feels like they've had issues with technology all day today. Their I guess system didn't pick up our order for some reason, so it is coming. So it'll be here. If you have any more of these thumb drives running around, there's a tracker in it so we can find you. I'm kidding. There's definitely not one of those in there, but just give it back if you can. I do have a couple things, like I said, we are looking to hire full-time primarily. We do hire interns as well, but all of our internships are done and closed for this coming summer, but we'll be back in the fall to look again for the following summer. If you want to chat with us individually, I would say pick Nick's brain if you're interested in security. I know that they're looking, he's a TL, I mean, he's been in that environment, in that team for a while, and so he can tell you all the ins and outs about it, just to kind of pique your interest. If you want to chat with me about any other opportunities, or just Paycom in general, I will be here eating pizza. So just let me know. Thank you again for coming, and looking forward to chatting with you all soon a little bit longer. Okay. Any questions though before that you want to ask, just as a group? Yes.
Does Paycom offer any off-season internships like spring or fall?
So that is not something that we typically do. We do that for mainly interns who start with us in the summer and then that carries over in the fall and the spring. But primarily that's going to be for local interns. Unfortunately, we don't have an office here in San Antonio, so that wouldn't necessarily be an option. But let's say, for our students in Dallas or Oklahoma City,